let's say we have another alpha we want to blend. No, not that one. Let's try. Let's see, there's a different one I had in here. And let's just use the this kind of hairy one. And blend across. So the essence here is I'm trying to get some of these little stamps of the multiple different strokes I put in here. Just trying to blend a little bit of those out with a double texture kind of thing. I don't want to lay down too many textures like this layered over because it gets to be a bit noisy. But since it's kind of, you know, the way this previous alpha laid down had like a little cross X and the rest of it was kind of softened out, it's a good way of tying everything together with this other alpha, kind of filling in the gaps. So that's generally how I'd handle it. And then, you know, ultimately you can come back over with a final touch of form soft wrinkling and just kind of waggle meaning just kind of give a wiggle to your stylus, to your pen or whatever you're using, hopefully not a mouse in ZBrush, but just kind of go in here and connect some of the dots basically. We're going to leave it pretty flat. I'm not going to do any puffing of any of these things. It's a membrane. It's supposed to be pretty thin. Just such a wide expanse of space on this dragon that I need to make sure everything's connecting well. And we'll need to deal with the edging on here too. Alright, so for the edging down here, it's obviously too smooth. So let's flip it over. Let's kind of get it situated here. Come on. And I'm gonna, good night. Okay. Zooming back, we can also see that things are looking still a little too soft here, a little too uninteresting, if you will. So I'm gonna go ahead and start to get a little more interest here. We got the general look for the membrane, right? All these little textural bits. But now we need to add some edging to everything. So I'm gonna try to do a Z add to the form soft wrinkles. And I'm just gonna go along. I'm gonna kind of shake my stylus along the edge, giving it kind of a border, if you will. But this is just the first part. It's going to take a couple strokes. So just kind of go back and forth on that. Just trying to knock out any kind of perfect kind of areas. So it's kind of like a stutter stroke, just kind of not a straight line all the way across, but kind of shimmy your stylus across, if that makes sense. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth. So it kind of breaks up things and doesn't give you a perfect line because we don't really want it to be perfect. Alright. And then I'll just kind of go in here and dig in. Actually, I'm going to check off the back face mask because I actually want it to hit both sides. I don't want it to do like any weird seam, which is already going to happen there. But that's okay. We'll just fix that in a minute. This way, this will do both sides, ideally. See, it's already getting both sides. So depending on what where you're doing this stroke, if you're doing the edge like this, it just depends on how you apply this stroke. Sometimes it'll do the opposite effect on the other side. Sometimes it'll do like a nice three-dimensional wrap so the actual stroke holds up on both sides. Just kind of have to play it out. Just depends on the brush. Some things are just different, just behavioral wise. So if it gets kind of weird, just go back here and knock it back the same way you're doing on the other side. It all kind of works out. Just kind of wiggling throughout. And then just, it will fade out. Let's take the back face mask off again. Or put it back on, I should say. And we'll just kind of fade this back up into the rest of the wing. So we have a bit of a transition here. It's not just an abrupt edge. Alright, so I'm going to get some like directional flow as well with these kinds of fine wrinkles. I'm going to flow them a little bit. All along the wing. And I gotta admit, it does make me a little sad that I gotta do all this on the other side, which is a way that I have thought of to kind of save myself some work. But honestly, I can't really think of anything without, you know, using textures and projecting and things like that. If I was doing this in a production environment, like with UVs and everything, I could probably just have the UVs be the same or similar on the other side, since it's basically the same thing on both sides, and then just reapply that texture there and use that. But oh man, it's a lot of work for this guy. I'm hoping just to make this just a nice little text or a sculpting tutorial, not a production kind of intense application heavy kind of thing. Hope that doesn't sound too lazy. It's really not. It's just not the intention of this tutorial and this workshop. Alright, just continuing to kind of just beat the heck out of it, so it just has more visual interest throughout. So I'm just kind of shimmying the cross, trying to get a little bit of variety. Kind of zoom out, see how that's looking. See, this is already looking better in this area here. This stuff is looking better than all this kind of plain boring stuff. So we're going to continue to just build upon that effort and just making use of the power of the free-form nature of this FormSoft thing. Just kind of wiggle in some flowing wrinkles that make sense for the flapping of this wing, the texture of the surface. You know, I assume and I hope that it's kind of leathery, kind of heavy, kind of membrane, not really thin and see-through, but just real thick and just texture heavy. I want it to feel weighty. And even towards the end, when we start to like fine-tune polish this guy, we can pull on the little corners, so or not corners, but the edges here, and just kind of give a little bit of this kind of effect. Maybe we'll try to do that towards the end of this video. We'll see how things flow. But you know, all along, this is why I saved the wings to last, as I knew it was going to take a lot of work. There's a lot of personality and what's the word? Distinguishing characteristic with wings, and I wanted to have a chance to have worked on the entire body first to know what this guy looks like. before I worked on the wings, so I can carry that look throughout, like so with these